Here with Michael Venom Page ahead of UFC 303, where he's going to be facing Ian Garry. We got Venom right on your shirt.
Oh yeah.
Did these guys sponsor you?
No, not yet. No, it's an obvious alley-oop, but they haven't yet. So
I was going to say they sponsor some UFC athletes. So this is if you're going to pick somebody, they need a board meeting for this one. But, do you like snakes? Generally?
Yeah. To be fair, like I'm not one of my good friends, Simon James, has like he's in his backyard. He's got a snake pit essentially. Like he built this whole thing. I'm not sure because he buys and sells them, but he had at one point it's like 70 something snakes. So he'd go and I don't mind them at all.
You're cool to hold them and all
that?
Yeah. Mm. And the nickname, of course, comes from your very distinct striking style. Who gave you that nickname?
Again, is that my older brother? He's a trainer with under my dad for years, Marvin Francis, and he literally gave me the nickname Venom. I was probably about 9 or 10, so I've had it since a kid.
Wow, so the kind of impact that you've had with your strikes was all the way back then.
Yeah, literally. Well, in his mind, he just said like before I was like a really skinny kid, and he's like the impact you had on other people your age. It's like you got that venom in you, man, and he just kept calling me Venom.
I want to ask you about your striking, because obviously that's what makes you so unique, is your ability to have translated, I guess, more of a karate style to mixed martial arts. Mm-hmm. Can you show me your stance and show me how you generate the power from your stance? Because is it mostly like, break it down for me almost scientifically, because I'm very just curious about it.
Yeah. So I'll do it facing you, but it's the kickboxing style that I came from. Bases its style more on the speed element versus the power element. So a lot of kickboxing styles that we like to watch, like a lot of the Muay Thai world we like to watch, is based on power. A lot of the combats, full contact combat world is based on power, knocking people out. This one was based on distance, timing, and speed. So you get used to reading the distance between yourself and your opponent, and because it's a scoring system, if you hit me first or I hit you first, you're going to accumulate points. It's better for me to be more side on, because then I give you less areas to score your point. And then from there, to move fast across the ground, I need to be bouncing on the balls of my feet, forward and backwards constantly, and then it makes it easier to shift because you've always got that momentum in your feet, the springs going in your feet, to be able to explode forward and back.
So if the camera, for example, is our opponent, like your opponent,
yes,
what's like the optimal distance? Where would you want to be right now?
You want to go towards the camera? Or?
Yeah, like let's say the camera is your opponent. What distance would you want to be at? What's your ideal distance?
I could probably be from here.
Okay. So, and if you're gonna connect with, I guess, the combination of power, distance, speed, mm-hmm. where you could knock them down, like, where do you generate that from? Is that coming from your back leg?
Obviously it depends on the types of moves that you're throwing, but I always tell people I like to do what I call creating a car crash effect. So a lot of the feints that I use to encourage my opponent to move towards me is the time that I move towards them. And then obviously I'm moving towards them faster than they're moving towards me, creating the car crash effect. And that's where my power is generated from. So I always say, speed kills. So regardless of how powerful I might actually be, if I can get that timing right and I am fast enough to cover the ground, I can also, be powerful in those strikes.
So the example I always give in kickboxing is a colleague of mine and friend, Bazooka Joe Valtellini, when he fought Raymond Daniels.
Oh yeah, Raymond. It's my boy.
So he was able to really use pressure in order to kind of back Raymond up and corner him.
Yeah.
In MMA, that doesn't really work because, I was talking to Eamon earlier about how with an octagon, for example, there's not really a corner.
Exactly.
So is that what makes your style so dynamic in MMA that, even a pressure style, if utilized properly, isn't going to put you off? Because if you are looking for a car crash kind of, I guess, reaction from your opponent, them pressuring you is probably more what you actually want in MMA.
100%. So exactly as you say, I'm spoiled for space. Now my style in a phone box, not as effective. But the more and more space you have. Now, what I tend to do and what my coaches make me do is work within a small space, because if I can generate these opportunities and these power moves in a small space with somebody pressuring me, and I can create all these opportunities and strikes and land them effectively, then you give me a bigger space. It's ridiculous. I feel like I'm on a football field fighting. So Yeah, for me, the cages are I'm just spoilt for space, and I can create the opportunities if and when I choose to.
So in the UFC Apex, where we are right now, they operate with a smaller cage.
Yeah.
Now, I think you're probably well beyond being an Apex fighter, no disrespect to anybody who headlines or fights at the Apex, but would that be something that would play into your mind if you're offered a fight here, for example, versus a fight, in front of a crowd or at a pay-per-view, knowing that space will be smaller? Would that put you at a disadvantage, in your opinion?
No, that just simply because what I said, I'm actually more accustomed training and fighting in a smaller cage.
So you
Our
prefer the
cage is.
smaller cage?
Well, I'm just accustomed to it. I don't mind either way now, and I think that's the reason why my coaches put me in a smaller cage, just in case, just because we didn't know what was going to happen in the future, but just in case we ended up fighting and I've boxed before and so on and so forth, and they are all smaller. So the cage here at the Apex is slightly bigger than my cage in the gym. So again, I'd be accustomed to it same way.
All right. Well, thank you. This has been like a seminar that we just had, a free seminar with Michael Van Bay. So I appreciate this very much.
No problem.
And best of luck against Ian Garry.
Thank you so
awesome
much.
fight on Saturday at UFC 303.
Thank you.